The Spot Track Podcast, talking sports contracts, the salary cap, and business of sports.
Hey, everybody. Hope you had a great 4th, and welcome to the Spot Track Podcast. Kevin Sylvester along with Paul Peck and Mike Giannetti, founder of SpotTrack.com. We've got the band all back together. It's been 3 weeks.
Good to be back with everybody.
Yes, good to see everybody here, and good to have Morgan Stanley Global Sports and Entertainment with us, which, of course, they empower professional athletes and entertainers to make informed decisions about their finances and wealth. And there are some athletes who have a lot more wealth that we're going to talk about here, particularly in basketball. You can learn more by visiting morganstanley.com/GSE. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, LLC, member SIPC.
But you know what the funny thing about it, Mike, is some of the names that we're going to talk about that were the most prominent NBA decisions actually took less money in some places to do what they want to do. Now, less is a relative term, Kevin. It's not a whole lot less for the Morgan Stanley guys to deal with. But when you read that, it occurred to me like, you know, guys are taking 30, 40 million less to go places they wanted to go, which sort of sounds a little bit weird.
Well, I'm interested in Mike's take on that. Yeah. We're gonna do a best and worst deals, but overall, there was a ton of surprises, to Paul's point, of players going where they're going, taking less money, but the money's so big, we've talked about this before.
This is my point.
It doesn't matter.
That's it. Is that where? That's where we are, right?
That's where
we are.
The Kawhi Leonard solely points out to me that the money's so big it doesn't matter.
Let me try to think. Who made a move specifically for money? Is there any top player?
Kemba Walker.
I don't think he did. He had way more on the table at Charlotte.
They weren't willing to pay him though.
They were going to give him the 190. So the 5 for 190 was the normal max contract. The 5 for 225 was the supermax.
Supermax. They weren't willing to pay him supermax.
They were willing to go maybe 175 to 190. I was hearing he only got 140 from Boston.
From Boston.
So he didn't go for money. He went for team.
Okay.
He went for rings.
Fair. Yes.
I don't know that anybody went for money anywhere in the top echelon of the league.
Is that how this is affected, Mike? Is
totally.
is that we're to the point now where as crazy as this next sentence sounds, the difference between 190 and 140 million isn't that big a deal, right? Is that what we're talking about?
I have these conversations with people all the time now, and I always feel dirty talking about it. Like, there's no way that's true. There's no way even Kevin Durant is like, well, it's only 40 million. Nobody says that, right?
Right.
40 million is still 40 million.
Certainly
even to
his
Kevin
accountant
Durant, right?
and his agent don't say that.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
He's got people in his ears. I mean, the more you make, the more you spend, right?
Absolutely.
I mean,
that's how it works in
relative.
my life.
Yeah. So I have a real trouble, even though I'm saying it all the time like you just did, Paul, I have trouble getting there really that, people would rather take 190 than 220.
But all these
nobody
decisions...
would rather. Correct.
But all these decisions sort of backed that up, didn't they? Or like you're saying...
Here's the question that drives out of this, right? Is this good? Is this okay for the league? Do we want Kevin? Here's the thing: the league is structured. The CBA is structured right now to keep players where they are. It's just a fact, right? Like no other league offers. You can make more to stay. And in some instances, way more to stay. Like Durant was $51 million to stay. $51 million. The league is set up to stay. Nobody's staying.
Right.
I mean, to a ridiculous degree, nobody's staying.
So this is the setup wrong?
If I'm Adam Silver, if I'm the league office right now, and I'm looking at what just happened this past week, there's no way they're miserable about this, right? There's no way.
Because everybody's talking about their league, and before we started recording, I said what occurred and what's happened was it's like planning a vacation. You're so excited to plan it. I'm going to go here. Wow, it's going to be great. And then you go on vacation, and it's vacation. You miss some comforts of home. You have a good time, right? But the games are never going to be as good as the anticipation of seeing Kawhi Leonard and Paul George play together in the Clippers.
Well,
right? I mean, it's not going to be
the
as good.
idea of them playing together on the Clippers is bigger than actually them playing together.
That is correct.
And planning is the key word.
Because this was planned, right?
Well, I mean, the Durant-Kyrie stuff was December, right? I mean, we started talking about Durant to Brooklyn or the Knicks in December. And then Kyrie basically came out in March and said, I'm going to Brooklyn. Without saying it, he basically said, I'm going to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
He said that thing penciled in for months. So, yeah, this is like planning a vacation. Where's my next destination, right?
Yes.
I mean, that we're talking about this months and months out. And then June 30th, I mean, my goodness, if you weren't awake, you missed 90% of the league moving, and it was all for buddying up trying to be better. And we're going to get to this. And I didn't really, when I wrote this show, I tried to steer from Kawhi because I was assuming yesterday was going to be so saturated with Kawhi, and it was.
Yeah.
But let me just pose this in terms of everything we just mentioned. Why did Kawhi have to leave?
I don't know. That's a great answer.
He brought Paul George with him, who's got 2 years left on his deal.
Yes.
So this is a temporary thing in L.A.
Correct.
Unless, Paul George gets a 5-year extension. But clearly they have the resources. We're going to talk about, why he picked the Clippers. But why did he have to leave Toronto?
Well,
Toronto did not change at all.
No.
Marc Gasol's back. Kyle Lowry's there. Siakam's still there. They're all still there, and he just got it to the finish line. Why did he think he needed to buddy up with another superstar to do it again?
Or did he just want to go home? And I know I read about his supposed text conversation with Magic Johnson, and he said, his response to Magic was, "I'm going home." I don't remember who. I might not have all that right, but I don't fault him if he decided he wanted to go back home.
That's fine, but we just talked about how every year this is going to be an opportunity. Every year. You can tell let's talk about Paul George. Let's talk about Anthony Davis. At any point in time, in any contract, you can just say, I need you to get me out of here. And it's going to happen now. There's no question. Like, enough people have now done it to the point of where if you're a good enough player and you want to leave, you will leave.
Right. Before we get
I thought, I just want to go on Kawhi. I thought 2 years, he'd sign the 2-year max extension, and then he'd have the 10 years in, right?
Well, my point is, we just talked about how the money didn't drive really any of these decisions.
Correct.
It was about, I think, winning. Right?
About winning and where you want to be.
To Paul's point, going home is part of it. And, Durant wanted to be in Brooklyn, clearly. Brooklyn's a big draw right now in terms of where people want to live. But Kawhi I don't think leaving Toronto was a winning decision.
Correct.
Clearly.
Correct.
They just won.
It's easy.
And they didn't change the team.
It's an easier path to make the finals in the Eastern Conference.
There's no question.
Than there is in the Western Conference.
So was it all about going to L.A.?
I think so.
I think so. I really do.
Right?
He's already won 2 NBA championships. I almost feel like it wasn't a negative about Toronto. It was just this guy earned the right to be able to do what he wanted to do, and apparently he wanted to go home. And then he would only do it if he could orchestrate him having Paul George, his running mate, with him.
So let's focus on that, because as we go down this list that we have here, that's going to be a focal point. Did Kawhi not enjoy being the focal point? Did he hate having to have that much on his shoulders in Toronto? Is that why he had to leave?
But that's kind of the trend now, right? That's what you do in the NBA when you're a superstar. You bring another one with you.
But it sounds like Kyrie and Durant hated it. They hated what just happened. They hated where they just came from. Really. They're leaving because they weren't comfortable.
They weren't the man.
Is it possible Kawhi was not comfortable even though he just did what he did?
You mean not comfortable being the lone superstar? Well, I think based on what we know of Kawhi's personality, the answer to that is probably yes.
Well, so
because it's funny that he picked a player who is exactly like him.
Yeah,
he didn't
Paul
pick
George, right? Yeah,
he didn't pick a big man. He didn't.
Right.
He didn't get LeBron's Anthony Davis or Durant's Kyrie Irving. He picked a player that is to his T.
The interesting thing, I'm thinking back to the press conference the mayor of Toronto and a super fan had about, hey, if you see him, leave him alone.
Yeah.
Like, let's give him his privacy. And I thought that may have hurt it more than it helped it, right? Because it kind of pointed out to Kawhi, like, yeah, you stick out like a sore thumb here in Toronto.
Yeah.
Right? Where you're not going to in L.A.
Nope.
You're not. There's movie star. Like, he's not the biggest star in L.A.
Nope.
Not even remotely close.
He's not even choosing to play for the biggest star team.
I'm not talking about sports.
Well, I'm
talking in general.
That's why you go to the Clippers or the Nets and not the Knicks or the Lakers.
Correct.
I mean, that's the other theme of this past.
Hey, one more thing for you guys before we get into the list, Mike's list of best and worst. I was thinking a little bit about this on two fronts. Is it now become the most exciting free agency period in all of sports, and if you're going to compare it to the NFL, which its free agency can be pretty good too, the difference to me is in the NFL the superstars don't move.
Every other
in
sport,
the NBA,
every other sport now.
Well, that's true. In the NBA particular, what fueled all this was the superstars moving.
Well, it's the most intriguing, and it's the most sources getting things wrong. Right, from reporters. But I'll say this. I remember when Miami when LeBron and Bosch went to Miami,
Sure.
everybody hated it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
Hated that these guys ganged up together to, join together and get on a winning team. And it kind of got away from it. LeBron went back home to Cleveland. It was great. And it kind of got away from it a little bit. But now we're back to that point again. And I don't feel the hatred everybody had when LeBron went to Miami. Am I?
You're right on.
Okay.
And you're leading up to the the generation that we live in, which is this player centric, this player empowerment generation, right? Free agency exists because the players want it to exist. The free agency you're talking about, that's the only reason the NBA is like this right now. Because Kevin Durant wants to go to free agency, Kyrie Irving wants to go to free agency, and then obviously down the line, no other sport is like that. No other sport is. I'm not taking your money even though you're offering. No one's doing that. No quarterback is doing that, right? Until they do it, it's not going to happen.
Few hockey players turn it down.
Nobody.
Few.
There's just not the plethora of dollars being thrown around in these others league. We don't think. Maybe there is. Maybe if another organization, maybe if the NFL, maybe if quarterbacks, which is as powerful as any position in sports, maybe if quarterbacks started to say, I don't like where this team is right now. I'm getting the heck out of here, and I'm getting out of my rookie contract. I'm getting out of my second contract, even though it's $125 million. What if Matt Ryan did that right now? I don't really like the landscape of this Falcons team right now. I'm getting the heck out of here. Trade me right now. Trade me.
Yeah, well, again,
right?
You can't.
That's how this
because
started.
of the
That's how this
franchise
started.
tag. You don't have the ability to do it like in the
That's
NBA
right.
until you
You're
take
right.
a stand the way you just said, where Matt Ryan says, "Do not franchise tag me. I will not play here. Get me out of here." Until somebody does that,
You're right.
That'll never change. Or if the new CBA somehow is dramatically different.
However, on the heels of all this NBA, which we've just talked about, those wide receiver requests, those trade demands, that could be game changing.
Yeah,
that's how
a
this
good point.
starts. It's players put their foot down and say, "I'm done. I'm done here.
Yep.
You've got to move me on. I don't care how good I am. I don't care how much you need me." That's how it starts, and that's how it started here. And look where we are now. There's no question this was the biggest week in free agency history.
All right, let's go down some of the best things that were done.
Do you agree? Have you taken a look at the list yet?
I do agree, actually.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, I'll say the third best, though. We'll get to that one.
Yeah.
I'll question that one.
All right,
Just
I like
that
it.
one a little bit. The smart, structured front offices, Nets, Clippers over Knicks and Lakers. And for the reasons we talked about.
It mattered.
It mattered.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, didn't Durant say, I told you guys I'd never play for the Knicks, right?
Well, is there any question it's because James Dolan is the owner?
No question. And
Is that
and
like
beyond that,
60% of it
can,
now?
can
Yes.
we all stop living 30 years ago?
Yeah, right.
Can we stop that? What a different world we live in every part of our lives. Can we stop dramatizing the
Well,
Knicks and
Paul-
and things like that? What? Because the Knicks won a championship in the 70s, we're supposed to
people
still think
went right
they're
back to
great?
that conversation when
He
Paul
wants
George
to
got
play in the
traded.
Garden, right?
Right.
Who cares?
Right.
He gets to play in the Garden, just as a road team.
We continued to hear it this week when Paul George got traded out of Oklahoma City. Like, oh, it's Oklahoma City. Nobody wants to be there. Stop it. You can win anywhere. Milwaukee might win the championship next year. They probably should win the championship next year. You can win anywhere. You can be famous anywhere. Instagram is everywhere. Facebook is everywhere. Your money is everywhere. It doesn't matter where you are. It's what you prefer. It's who you're with. It's your lifestyle, right? It's how you dictate your life. It has nothing to do with the league anymore. The Knicks and the Lakers, the idea of those two franchises are dinosaurs.
But there was a lot of people that were hanging on that, or there was a lot of people that were surprised
Because
that they made those decisions to go to the other teams. I'm like, I didn't understand it at all.
If you ask 15 to 16-year-old kids right now, who's the most famous Laker ever? Who are they saying?
They're saying LeBron.
Maybe
Or
Kobe.
Kobe.
Maybe they
Right.
get to Kobe.
They may be a little
probably
too young
don't,
for
though.
Kobe.
They probably don't even get to Kobe.
They're too young for
That's-
Kobe.
That's where we are right now. And,
My 14-year-old knows Kobe Bryant.
and it's not even a question with the Knicks. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Does anybody even know a Knick player? A 15-year-old kid? Maybe
I want to
Porzingis,
say
who played
Patrick
like 8
Ewing, and we
games?
know that's not their answer.
That's what I mean. But think about it in those terms, because that's the audience.
Correct.
I mean, you're starting with 15-year-old kids, then their dads come and watch with them, or their moms come with them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the target.
That's right.
Like, the Knicks are nothing.
The Knicks are
to
nothing.
the current generation. They're nothing, and they're still nothing after this week. They're nothing.
I agree. the Lakers are something because of the Anthony Davis trade.
No question.
And, some of the signings that they've made.
Whether
here,
or
the
not it's
mid-level
enough,
section.
we don't know, but there's something for sure.
There's something for sure.
Yeah.
You have best here, the Warriors' response
this was real.
to this.
Did this throw you guys off?
So
This threw me off a little bit.
yeah, well, because they signed Klay Thompson, which we expected.
That was
right?
about as vanilla was going to get. Yeah.
We have to believe they offered Durant something, right? Significant,
I think it's interesting. We really didn't hear.
right?
Right.
But I
they
wonder.
didn't make a public cry for it.
But I wonder if they were reticent about it because they had a player that played with them that had a ruptured Achilles.
Yeah.
And frankly, nobody was that interested in him at all.
Didn't look good, did
because he didn't. He's not nearly the player he was.
Talking about Cousins,
yes,
who's now a Laker, by the way.
Yes, right. Who's a Laker, which we'll see. I don't know. Maybe it's a longer recovery. Maybe he has a great year next year. But
Yeah.
I mean, Boogie Cousins wasn't really anything.
I don't think it's being talked about enough while we're on the Warriors here, just how serious the Durant injury is. And that I get that these teams felt they had to go and offer these max contracts. I get it. But I even put a tweet out about it, and we talked about it last week on the show. The Knicks might look pretty darn good for coming out publicly and saying, we just didn't feel like we could offer him the max.
Right.
In 3 years, this might look really smart. Because
Sure.
it's possible he's a shell of himself for the rest of his
And
career.
there's enough history of other guys
Yeah.
who have had that injury at that age have never come back from it. I think you could look across all sports.
Well, we did it. We did it, 3 shows ago? I
did.
said Dominique Wilkins was
That's right.
the only one who's come back and averaged more
Right.
points when it came to that. So
But I just wonder if the Warriors, regardless of whether they offer the max or not, maybe they probably dodged a little bit of a bullet here, right?
yeah. What's the Russell deal? So they
I
sign
like
and
the
trade,
Russell deal a lot.
Well, they sign and trade him, so he's the running mate now with Steph Curry.
Yeah.
But then they're going to move him,
this is the best team,
and he knows it.
this is the best team in the league falling into just the biggest pot of luck ever. I mean, of course, the one team that Kevin Durant wants to go to, the one, just happens to have a point guard who needs a max contract, who they don't want anymore. So it's the only team I think where a sign and trade would have literally worked. The money matched, coming back and forth. It was just perfect. It was set up perfectly. So of course, if that guy's available and you can get him for Durant, who you're about to get nothing for, literally nothing, you do it. Yeah, this is a top 5 point guard right now who finally sort of hit his potential last year in Brooklyn. And oh, by the way, they need somebody for 6 months while Klay Thompson, recovers. Now they can slow play him a little bit,
Sure.
which is perfect.
Right.
They can have Steph Curry off the ball, right, just sitting in a corner waiting to shoot threes. That doesn't sound too bad. Russell can run this offense, and then if it all works out and Klay comes back and they're still a decent team, maybe not February that deadline, but maybe next summer. They're flipping D'Angelo Russell for a huge package.
Well, let's not kid that they're wise to recognize they needed somebody because Davis was with the Lakers, and what happened with the Clippers.
Yeah.
Even though this was a little after the fact. I mean, the West is going to be so hard. So hard.
Oh, and by
right?
the way, the Lakers were going to make a huge run at D'Angelo Russell. So the Warriors also blocked that move in doing
That's
this.
right.
I mean, it's just a gangbuster move for the Warriors, who should have got nothing for this.
All right. You also have the best every Pelicans move.
I really...
Every Pelicans move.
You know what? I didn't even put this. Starting with hiring David Griffin. I mean...
Yes.
It's just all sort of worked out.
So-
it really has.
So drafting Zion, but that was a no-brainer.
Sure.
Okay. Trading the number 4 pick for 8/17/35
And cap space.
And cap space. Okay. Brilliant. Derek Favors from Utah.
He's a starter. Day one starter.
I like the signing of J.J. Redick.
Day one starter. And then, oh, by the way, they
Yeah.
get Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram, who are going to start and could be all-stars.
Okay. I guess.
No, but this team went from worst to extremely relevant.
Is it the model?
Extremely relevant.
Is it the model now for a team that isn't in position to bring the superstars in? For whatever reason,
well,
financially,
no.
market size,
No,
or whatever.
let's be honest.
The model
They
is
got
winning the
crazy luck.
lottery.
Yeah, they got crazy
Well,
luck.
that's true.
Yeah,
Yes.
they got crazy luck.
Without winning the lottery,
But
none of this is possible.
Let's talk about the model, because there are teams who are not following the 76ers model, right? Who are not bottoming out. They're not. I mean, the Wizards, they're in limbo. Take a look at the Wizards roster on Spotrac after this when we're done. Just take a look. You're going to know nobody, and there's going to be a lot of guys making money. You're just taking up cap space.
Right.
Right? They might win 25 games. They might not be the worst team in the league. If they don't win the lottery, what is this all for? What is it? I mean, you've got teams like that who need to understand how this works, because if you are not the worst or bottom 3, you're nothing in this league. You're just nothing.
Worst decisions, worst moves. Portland, the Portland Trailblazers. Speaking of teams that won the title in the 70s, the Portland Trailblazers, right? I mean, they had a great team, though, when they lost to the Bulls.
Yeah.
Yes,
right?
they did.
I mean,
Clyde.
Jerome Kersey, Clyde
Drexler, sure.
Kevin Duckworth, Terry Porter.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, who was the other starter? I'm missing one.
It's pretty good right there.
Big guy, Buck Williams.
Oh,
Look at
love
that.
Buck Williams.
Buck Williams.
Huge Buck Williams
I
fan.
loved the Blazers back in the day.
There's a lot to
There's
like.
a lot
about
to
him
like
right
now, but
Yeah.
not a lot to love here. Hassan Whiteside, $27 million.
Well,
Not,
the moves that they made seemed real reactionary. As if here's what I think is funny. Maybe 3 shows ago, we're talking about how the Warriors are going to be depleted, right?
Yep.
And how the West is going to react to that, right? They're going to go all. Houston's going to go all in. They're going to try to get Jimmy Butler, whatever's going to happen. Everybody's going to go all in the West because they think Goliath is down right now. I'm not sure about that anymore, by the way, and maybe they don't either, right? Because what's funny is after the Warriors made the sign and trade, or the rumor came out, you saw a lot of holy S moves, right? Like you saw a lot of teams go, wait a minute. They might not lose as much as we think they're going to lose.
Yeah.
And people started to realize the Lakers weren't going to acquire that third player. That was another big step in the West, right? Because if the Warriors were decent and the Lakers weren't going to be this great, giant that everybody assumed, can you imagine Kawhi, Anthony Davis, and LeBron? Yeah. I mean, that was what everybody was assuming for a week here, right?
Yes.
But when that didn't happen, when that didn't play out, a lot of these teams in the West decided, wait a minute, instead of slow playing, we should probably make a move here. And I just didn't like what Portland did. They're already the third highest, they were already the third most expensive team in the league coming into free agency. They're now the most expensive team in all of basketball, which that probably surprises a lot of people. Portland Trailblazers. They're paying their guards a ton of money. They added money in Hassan Whiteside, who I think Miami was dying to get rid of. I mean, it was just one of those players where the contract didn't fit the player even close. So they're taking a chance on that, which is a rental because of the Nurkic injury, which was devastating last year. They got rid of Evan Turner, which is fine, but again, brought in a more expensive Kent Bazemore, who's going to be like 20 minutes a game for you.
Yeah.
And that's over 20 million. There's just a lot of moves. And then, of course, they gave Dame Lillard their Supermax, which doesn't sound terrible, but it was 2 years early. He's got 2 years left on his current deal, which means he's now signed out 7 years. And we saw what happened with John Wall in Washington. It only takes one little injury.
That's right.
And it's the worst contract in basketball.
John Wall was an Achilles, right?
All sorts of things.
Yeah.
Hip, Achilles, ankle, all sorts. But yeah, that's all it takes. I mean, when you've got a guy locked in that far out in basketball, it's dangerous. And he's not the only high-play player on this team right now. So they're playing with a lot of fire financially. It's just scary to look at their situation right now. And what are they, the 5th best team in the West? That's the other part of it.
Yeah.
None of this even made them legitimate contenders.
They might be
we'll get to-
6.
we'll
They
get
might
to
be
the odds.
6.
We'll
They
get to
might be-
the
All right,
odds.
we'll get to the odds.
We'll get to that.
Charlotte. All right, so they Kemba Walker goes to Boston. Charlotte's sign and trade decision here.
I feel bad crapping on Charlotte, right? Because
I used to live there. I used to work for the Hornets. Not
Yeah.
this iteration of it. The Pelicans, the team that is now the Pelicans, used to be the franchise I worked for.
We
for a little
saw a lot of this sign and trade. We talked about Durant. We talked about there's a few of them, obviously, and the big one here was Kemba Walker, whom again they could have just let him walk for nothing. They decided to do a sign and trade and bring back Terry Rozier to be essentially their starting point guard. There's no world where Terry Rozier is worth $20 million a year. It's just not It's just not. It wasn't a good deal. They felt like they had to do it because they needed to, replenish their funds a little bit.
Mike Rozier might be worth $20 million. I thought I'd throw that in for Paul because Paul was thinking of it as soon as
Nice. There you go.
Old Nebraska running back. Okay.
I get it. You got to sell some tickets. You think this guy can be better than he was in Boston. He was he felt way out of favor in Boston on that roster. So to bring him in at $20 million a year to be a starting point guard and essentially the face of that franchise right now, I don't know.
The issue with
It's ugly.
So having lived in Charlotte, and anybody in Charlotte listening, please tweet us if we're wrong. If I'm wrong about this, they're not even the number one basketball team in Charlotte.
That's a great
The
point.
Tar Heels are,
Of course.
right?
Of course.
And then you're a Tar Heels fan, you're a Duke fan, or there's ABD, anybody but Duke fans down there, and then the Hornets.
Well, the Hurricanes had a good year.
Well, I'm just but
there's
I'm just
a lot
saying,
more going on right now.
Like it's ACC basketball country. ACC basketball is so much greater than the NBA there. They love Muggsy Bogues, Larry Johnson,
That was
Alonzo
fun.
Mourning from that first iteration of the Hornets when they had a really good team.
Yeah.
Other than that,
Well, this ain't gonna do it. Is what I'm saying.
yeah, no, it's not going to
They're
do
paying
it.
a
you
lot.
know?
They're paying $60 million
But-
to try to make it work.
But the fascinating thing is they've got the greatest player to ever play
sure.
as the owner.
Yeah.
And he's owns a team that
A lot of people think
are they ever going to do it? I doubt it.
There's a lot of contention about whether he is right for that job right now.
Well, back to the point that you made before, you,
Yeah.
you wonder if he's too far removed
Yes.
from a generation of players that aren't going to go, oh, I got to go play for Michael Jordan. We're getting spaced out here
but
now.
that doesn't matter to today's modern player. 'cause
That's what I
it's-
mean.
Yeah, right.
That's what I mean.
Let me be clear though about one thing.
It's a great city, by
It
the
is.
way. Yeah, you know,
But-
there's nothing against the city.
And let me turn the table a little bit here. Paying Kemba Walker was also not the answer, right? That would have been a worse
Sure.
than signing Terry Rozier to $60 million.
Because Kemba's not bringing anybody with him.
Unless he could, which I don't think he could. I mean,
Right.
their cap structure was not set up to bring in any kind of major free agent. So, yeah, just keeping Kemba on a huge deal made absolutely no sense either. So maybe this is the better of the two evils. It's not a great move.
All right, things to be determined here. The Nets, big three that count for a gazillion.
I know what I
dollars.
think about this. You guys kind of lay it out.
right.
What do you think about Brooklyn's moves here?
Well, what do I think? I would have liked them to keep Russell.
Okay.
I don't see a tremendous upside. Like Kyrie over Russell. Kyrie's a better player, but the long term Russell's the better player. You know,
Yeah.
they're gonna get more out of him. DeAndre Jordan.
Well,
I really. Anyhow, and then Kevin Durant. I still think there's a huge question mark at Kevin Durant to throw all that money.
I don't
at
love
him.
any of them.
okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm with you.
I really don't. For the reasons we said about Durant, major risk. Kyrie Irving's a really good player, but he's never quite lived up to what people thought he was going to live up to. And to me, DeAndre Jordan is a big, hulking center in a game that doesn't value big, hulking centers anymore.
I think Kyrie Irving, he wanted to be the man. He left. When he was the man, couldn't handle being the man,
Right.
realized he needed someone else to be the man. So he signs with someone who's supposed to be the man, but it's not going to play for a year.
Okay.
So he's going to
may
be the
never
man.
be the man
But he's going to be the man
again.
again in the biggest media market in the world. Like,
Let me throw
to me, he's in the same situation, different team.
Exactly, for sure. And let me throw one more layer on this. Brooklyn was actually pretty damn good last year.
Yes.
Right? Like they had this thing rolling. These kids were coming together. It's Boston a year ago. Boston had these kids that you knew they could play, and then they realized they could play together. The coaching system was working. Brooklyn had this past season. They made a decent run in the postseason, and now you're throwing this big thing, this big box on top of that, right? And it's supposed to be a win now box.
Right.
It's supposed to look like we're going to win championships now, except is Durant 18 months out? And we
We don't know.
Is
right?
this an example of the thing that drives me the most crazy about all professional sports, where you want your professional sports teams to hire smart people and build with a plan, but then here's Brooklyn, based on what Mike says, is, oh my God, everyone else is signing superstars. We have to sign superstars. We're in New York. New York demands that we sign superstars. Was this a lot of this move by Brooklyn? To your point, they had a really good team. Maybe not a star-grabbing team, but it's always bothered me that teams needed to worry about the publicity in the back page. Winning gets you the back page and the publicity.
You nailed it. This seems like celebrity signings
Yes.
instead of basketball signings.
Correct.
Because from a basketball standpoint, I think they're sort of messing with a good thing.
Well, maybe Spike Lee's season tickets were up, and they wanted to get him courtside.
He's the next free
Boy,
agent.
that would be the ultimate if he switched allegiance.
Don't think that's going to happen. All right, the other thing to be determined is this player movement, and an interesting point is the trade kickers, but Paul George and Anthony Davis, and they turned right. Anthony Davis turned down his trade kicker.
Well, so did I believe George. We haven't confirmed it yet, but just the idea of this, I think, has to be addressed, right? So we're talking about how the players are literally demanding where they're going to go, whether
Right.
that's in free agency or even more so through the trade. So Anthony Davis goes to New Orleans in February, right, and says, "I'm not going to play for you anymore," and he literally did not play for them
Right.
until they botched the trade, and then he had to play like a minute and a half a game for 8 weeks. But if we're getting to that point, if we're getting to the Kawhi, sits down for coffee with Paul George and says, you got to get out of Oklahoma, and then he goes back to Sam Presti and says, trade me immediately.
Right.
I mean, that's where we're at.
Yeah.
I mean,
and now Russell Westbrook said the same thing. Okay, you can move me.
But if that's what we're at, here's how the trade kicker works. It's essentially like a bonus to get moved, right? So it's insurance if the team had to move the player because they felt bad about having to move the player. Well, we're not there anymore, right? I mean, nobody feels bad about Paul George leaving Oklahoma City. It's a 15%, 5, 10, 15% in these cases, 15% in addition to what they were making this year, right? So for these $30 million salaries, it's $4, $5, $6 million. It's a lot of money. Should they even exist, or should they be waived? Here's the thing: you're getting PR now, right?
Yeah.
Because if you start messing with, they only exist if the team forces the trade. Here's where But does Paul George deserve $6 million right now in addition to his salary?
No, he does not.
Does Anthony Davis deserve $4 million?
No, they forced the trade.
So it's certainly a conversation that needs to happen. Maybe they just go away completely. Right? Maybe they just completely go away if we're getting to the point where people are taking advantage of teams and just saying, "Get me out of here." So maybe that's the conversation to have, and that's a conversation about the franchise tag too, as well. By the way,
yeah. I know we spent all this time talking about, and we were all excited about all the player movement, but I'm not always sure that level of player movement is good for the sport as a whole, for the teams as a whole. You could argue that being more restricted like you are in the NFL sometimes is better for fans of a team that is smart enough to draft a good player and has an ability to keep them.
Well, I just don't want to see it become, and maybe it has a little bit like baseball bullpens. Right?
Right.
They
Where you change so many things.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you're just changing stuff all the time. All right, overall numbers, 12 contracts have $100 million or more. There's $3.4 billion. The number's a little higher, right? We just
probably
had
3.5 now, yeah.
Yeah, close to $3.5 billion.
It's almost historical. We're going to get there. I think by the end of the next week, when these last kind of rash of signings come in, we'll have the most money in free agency history.
Here, to me, the most significant number. All right, so we said 12 contracts of $100 million or more, 20 contracts of $50 million or more. There are now 55 players making $20 million.
Amazing.
Next year in the NBA.
To our original
There's
point,
no way you know all of them.
The money, the money becomes irrelevant to some degree.
Yeah.
You're right. There is no way.
There's no way. There's no way you know all 55. There are at least 10 players on that list.
Who is
who
is the least or the most shocking, least unlikely?
One of the Lopez brothers. Is one of them making $20 million?
I don't know. They both signed with Milwaukee, by the way.
Right.
Do you know that?
Yes.
I love that move.
I think it's great.
They're smart enough to go, I want to hitch my wagon to a superstar.
Yeah, to the other big guy.
Brogdon's making over 20, right?
He is.
Yeah.
That's a move to watch this year. That's a move to watch, because if that is the nail that got pulled out of Milwaukee that ruins them, that's going to be very interesting.
3 of the top 10 highest paid players will miss a lot of time in 2019.
Almost all of it, yeah.
Durant, Thompson, and Wall. 3 of the top 10 highest paid. Future odds here. All right. Now this is done before. We're not factoring in.
This is based on yesterday.
All right. So not Westbrook going to Houston, which, by the way,
not going to happen.
No way is that going to happen.
You think Harden wants him back on that team?
That's what I'm saying. They had to trade James Harden because he couldn't play with Durant and Westbrook.
I just kind of love the idea of Chris Paul being all alone in Oklahoma City. Right? After all of this.
Well, okay.
I do kind of like that.
That's a fair point. All right. Clippers are 7-2 odds right now.
Does anybody argue that?
Nope.
I don't argue that.
No.
Lakers 4-1.
I'm going to argue that one.
Yeah, that to me,
they're not the second best team in basketball right now. Not until we see it. Not until it took LeBron a year in Miami. It took him a year when he came back to Cleveland.
I think they're going to be pretty good.
Do you think him and Anthony Davis have immediate chemistry?
Yeah, because they're great. They're both great players.
Man.
And LeBron's going to play point guard.
Yeah.
He's just going to feed him the ball. Come on. LeBron is going to coast for, he's only going to go when he needs to. He played point anyways. I don't know. It's a big deal. He's playing point guard.
Yeah,
but
it's just
I think they're going to be pretty good. The Bucks at 6-1. Got to like it because they're playing in the East, right? I mean, who's there to compete with out of the East aside from Philly?
15-1.
Philly and Boston, if they've recalibrated themselves.
Boston's
enough.
probably a year away, but I like that they're right there, 25. Yeah,
I'll tell you what, if I were to go throw money on anybody right now, like sleeper team, and I say sleeper, but the Utah Jazz.
They're hot.
Or
right?
Denver.
Denver's my sleeper. I think
Denver?
Utah's getting a little bit more buzz right now because they really did make 3 or 4 of the best moves of the year. For sure. And Mike Conley is going to be the glue, I think, for that team. But Denver didn't change anything.
They were good. They were a
Denver-
good up and coming team, right?
Good. They were almost there.
Yeah.
They almost went all the way. Why?
See, again, this is
They're
to my
30 to
point.
1.
This is to my point. I'm sure there's Denver fans that are mad that they weren't in on the party the last couple of weeks, right? But be smart. Realize what you have. And the best move that Denver made was making no moves.
Well, we talked about it, and I just said it to you, Kevin. Generally, this much movement takes time to figure it out. And Denver didn't make any movement. So shouldn't they be the most stable team in the league right now?
You would think, and there's talk that Alex English is going to come back.
Only if Dan Issel's there, too.
Sorry.
30 to 1, though. I like that right now. I would jump on that right now.
By the way, Portland, we talked about Portland. They are the 7th best odds in the Western Conference.
There you go. Yeah, they're down there, and they're the most expensive team in
At
basketball.
40 to 1.
Yeah, and to our, John Beeline, in Western New York's John Beeline.
Yeah. Got some work to do.
Yeah, 2001.
Yeah.
Cleveland.
Cleveland does not rock right now.
Got a little work to do.
That is.
Got a little work
Wow, okay.
One other NBA tidbit before
Yes.
we move on to baseball. Mike, you I know a lot of NBA fans are watching the summer league games. They're on everywhere.
crazy?
Everybody's watching. There's nothing much else to watch this time of year.
But I get made fun of for watching
if
spring
people
training
are
games in
watching it,
baseball.
then Mike is digging into the numbers on it. And there was an interesting article about the numbers, the pay rates of what the guys make in the summer league.
He doesn't watch a CFL either. Shame on you.
I actually watch the CFL. I'd rather watch a CFL game than an NBA summer league game.
Really?
I'm a football
not
guy.
me.
I'm a
sorry.
football guy.
Listen, I'm an all sports guy. I'd rather watch the NBA Summer League.
Are we admitting things right now? Because I watched a little bit of Lakers Golden State Warriors at 11:30 p.m. last night,
That's okay.
which is ridiculous.
all right.
Nobody was there.
So what'd you learn about the summer? What'd you learn
I watched part of the Big Three.
That's
Right?
all right. That's entertaining, though.
Yeah, well,
All right, yeah, Paul, you brought this to my attention. This is just fun because it's fun, right?
Right.
It's kind of like summer fun here. This is what these guys make. It's a 12-day league, this summer league out in Vegas. You get $1,500 for the 12 days, but you have the option of how you want that money. Front-loaded, daily, or bi-daily. And to me, $1,500
Bi-daily.
Isn't it the best? It's like any of us, again, planning a vacation to Vegas, right? Let's say
That's literally like the wives clause. That's literally like you're not getting all that money on the first day, right?
Bi-daily, though. That's the best.
so that's $60 in the morning, $60 after lunch.
I don't know.
It was,
I don't know.
it's not a lot of money.
$1,500 for 12 days?
It's not a
No,
it's not a lot of money.
But a lot of their expenses are covered. 2 of their meals a day are covered, and their travel, their travel is all
travel,
paid for.
what are they gonna go
both
from
there
casino
and
to
back.
casino? I mean,
no,
come
I mean
on.
to get to Vegas and to go
Oh.
home, their travel is all
Okay.
covered. So
Yeah, but you got it right next to Allen in the convertible
they get
with the
to
draft.
stay in a nice hotel. I mean, there's some perks that are in this thing,
I mean, generally, these are guys that make nothing.
right?
Many of them don't even have contracts right
Well,
now.
the one in the article in SI.com, it interviewed a guy who's like in his 7th or 8th summer league. And he basically said, he goes, you're asking me to go to Vegas for a week, play basketball on an all expenses paid vacation. Why would I not take that?
Okay, and you get tickets to see Donnie
And
Marie.
maybe there's a chance you might actually impress somebody enough to get a shot at an NBA roster spot.
I'm the nerd saving that $1,500. I'm not even spending it. I'm putting it
You're
right
eating
away.
at the buffets? You're,
Totally.
yeah.
$9.99 all you
Yeah.
can eat. Are you kidding me?
You are not saving
I'm
it.
saving it. I'm saving it.
House money in Vegas? Are
No,
you kidding
You know
me?
what I'm doing? I'm putting it on Denver 30 to 1.
There
That's
you
what I'm
go.
doing.
That would be a good use of it, actually. Very good use of it. All right. Cool thing on the NBA Summer League. Before we move to baseball, want to talk to fantasy football players out there. If you missed out on the beta sign-up for Dynasty Owner, there's good news. You can still get a lifetime discount if you register right now through their Indiegogo campaign. How it works is this. You go to dynastyowner.com, select a level. There's 250, 500, 1,000, or 5,000 for you high rollers out there. But here's the good thing. You lock in a Dynasty team for life. Plus, you'll get some great swag and gifts along with it. Hats, shirts, Yeti mugs, game tickets. How about this? We're talking about planning a vacation. 1-week trip to a private villa in Mexico. Now, the prizes vary based upon that level of support that I've mentioned. And so get ready for the upcoming football season with the first Dynasty Salary Cap fantasy sports game that not only plays the game week to week, but uses actual contracts and salaries, gives you roster power of the coach and general manager. Go to dynastyowner.com to register your team, lock in some of these great prizes, and keep up with all the latest on the Dynasty Owner podcast wherever you subscribe. Major League Baseball All-Star numbers, but we're recording this the morning after the Home Run Derby, which was a home run. It was a grand slam of what happened for Major League Baseball.
Sure.
It was outstanding.
Let's go Mets, right?
Yes.
You got something to be excited about.
That's my World Series right there, man.
Well, it's kind of a cool story too for Alonso, right? He's making the minimum $550,000, right?
I put a little article up this morning actually over my cup of coffee because it was interesting to sort of see all that unfold. You had 5 players making less than $1 million, one player making $1 million, one player making $5 million, and then Carlos Santana making $17 million this year. That was your home run derby. So everybody was there for money. All of them.
I mean, that was the idea. That was the idea.
Probably why it was such a good performance.
So I didn't realize this either. This was a major step up in money. Major step up for baseball. The pool last year was $525,000. The pool this year was $2.5 million for these players. So Alonso made $1 million and then it went down from there. But yeah, they made a significant effort to make this about money, probably because they saw this wave of young players coming in the league that they knew were going to be marketable for this event.
I'll say from a marketing standpoint, you wanted a wave of young players.
Yes.
They want these guys in this thing for the next 5 years, for sure.
Alonso won it and gets the $1 million, and he did it in great strategic fashion. The draw was pretty good for him because he didn't have to. I mean, the semifinal there with Vlad Jr., who won the night, right? I mean, Vlad Guerrero Jr. It was incredible what he did, but that matchup against Jock Peterson. Wow.
Unbelievable.
That was incredible.
Unbelievable. Let me give Pete some credit. He had his cousin out there pitching. By the way, who pitched for Bonaventure.
Local Western New York school. We're here, St. Bonaventure.
I was going to mention that's a cool story because he had to try out before the Subway Series, and he got they did a couple times, and then BP that day, the rest of the Mets teammates said, "Okay, he's in. Well, he can do it for you."
He barely did it for him, is my point.
Yeah, right.
He did not look good.
Yeah, there
were some questionable pitches, and I think of all of them, Pete got the worst pitching and won this thing. I mean, Vlad was getting grooved balls all night, and he was crushing them. I'll give him credit. But Pete made the best out of maybe the worst pitcher up there last night.
the spread of his home runs look like fireworks because he just started hitting to every field instead of just trying to pull the ball.
That was a heck of a show, really, and the money was there, which is cool, and I hope that continues because we want these kind of players in it every year for sure.
Well, it will if that event is more talked about than the game itself tonight,
you think it'll happen,
which I completely believe is. I think the All-Star game to me has become somewhat irrelevant. I think, and the ratings back that up as well.
Well, what about the other All-Star games? NHL All-Star.
They all are.
Skills Challenge, skills night is way better than the game. The game's a joke.
Everybody sees these players. It used to be when we were kids, this was your chance to see players you did not see. Everybody sees everyone now.
Basketball, the dunk contest, 3-point shootout. That's the game again. Is a joke.
The worst.
Football's
got to go.
Yeah, why even play the game?
They can't fix
because the guys get a week's vacation generally.
So go down and do the skills competition. Do punt, pass, and kick. I'm fine with it. The dodgeball. I'm cool with that.
Well, I've actually got the numbers on this game tonight too, so I'll just rattle off these. It's an $800,000 purse just to the winning team. So the winning team gets $25,000 a player. So in the grand scheme, not much. But if you're making $500,000, you'll take it for sure.
It's a suit.
The big thing is a lot of these guys have incentives built into their contracts. A lot of them, even the guys you think wouldn't need them, like Max Scherzer, right? Max Scherzer makes $34 a year. He's getting $100,000, and he's not even going to play tonight, right? He's injured, so he's not going to play. But there's some fun bonuses, and I listed them all in this article on the site here on SpotCharts.com. Whit Merrifield, the one name you probably aren't thinking about right now tonight, he got himself $200,000 escalated in the next 3 years of his deal.
Because he made the
All-Star game. Sonny Gray got $200,000 escalated next year because he made the All-Star team. Those are the kind of things I think we'll see more and more of to get these guys at least incentivized to enjoy this weekend because you've got to keep it relevant. This is the heart of the baseball season right now, right?
Yeah.
You can't have these be duds. You just can't. You need home run derbies like last night. You need close games in the All-Star game. You need the stars to show up. You need Mike Trout's there. You need Bryce Harper's there. So it's good to see. I've got a list of about 15 players who are going to get some compensation. And, I think you'll see that more and more as these contracts, especially with the younger kids, these contracts.
What do you know what really, I don't say diminished is the word I want to look for.
Oh, the home field?
No, what diminished the All-Star game was interleague play. In my
Sure,
opinion.
Sure, that was the drama, right?
Yes.
Because that was the only time you ever saw those guys go
Right.
against
You're right.
each other.
So, can we get rid of interleague play?
No.
No?
You can lessen it. I think they will lessen it.
I think they should.
But they're going to have to shorten the season eventually here anyway,
But-
right? It's going to have to happen.
Yes, NBA's talking
They're going to do
about
it.
it.
NBA is going to do it.
All leagues should.
Have we talked about this NBA proposal yet?
No.
No.
Oh my god.
Save
it's
it for next week.
It's the best.
You know what jumped out at me as you spit out the salaries for the All-Star? We'll save it for next week.
Oh, I just love it. You're like at a board meeting. Table that for next week.
Oh, well, I'm trying to think ahead, to something not only that we have to talk about, but that'll get people back for next
Trent,
week's show.
they're coming back next week anyways because they love this
All
show.
right, here's my point. Mike spits out the All-Star starting lineups and the salaries for each of the players. And what jumped out at me the most, Mike, was there are more guys ranked, less guys in the top 10 in salaries at their position than guys who are in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, which on first glance you wouldn't expect in a quote-unquote All-Star game.
Yeah, this is sort of like the NFL conversation, right? Where the kids have really stepped up and they're the forefront of this league now. And it's good. And to the league's credit, this past offseason, we talked about it a lot on this show, those guys aren't making the minimum anymore. The league is recognizing it. Teams are recognizing it. We can't have Mookie Betts making $600,000 anymore. It looks really bad.
It is a bad optic.
It looks bad to us because sites like me go out there and yell at them, on Twitter. They do, and there's rightfully so. You shouldn't have Aaron Judge making $680,000, and he is right now. And I get
How
it.
about Bellinger?
Bellinger's amazing.
Come on.
Well, you mentioned Yelich.
Yes.
I think it's maybe the best value contract in all of sports.
Still
all of sports.
Still 9.7.
And he's going to go up to 10 next year or whatever. It's going to be 11 next year. He's a perennial MVP candidate. He's the reason the Brewers are even relevant right now. And Miami signed into that contract and traded him for whatever reason.
You know, the DH, that's an interesting one. Hunter Pence, right? At $2 million. I mean, no, but this
Hunter
guy
Pence is just the best.
isn't he?
You got to follow him on YouTube.
He was a glue player for the Giants, right, when they won, and just kind of a character.
He was
right?
almost out of the league last year.
Yes,
he was almost done. And he's completely rebirthed his career in Texas.
He reminds me of the guy who shows up at rec league basketball. He's got tape on both knees.
Chuck Taylor's.
Chuck Taylor's on.
Gets drafted last.
The specs, the specs, the glasses.
He's got his Knicks training camp invite T-shirt on, and the guy just goes out there and he plays the whole game and kicks ass.
Oh,
that's awesome.
Right?
That's awesome.
By the way, Cody Bellinger is the 100th ranked outfielder in salary. You brought up Cody Bellinger. I mean, he's the only guy in triple digits on Mike's list of the starting All-Stars at their position ranks.
Yeah.
I'll let people that are listening out here will answer the question in a moment. There's two other All-Star starters making less than $1 million a year.
Yeah.
They both play the same position. That's a pretty good hint for you. Give you a minute to think
You'll
of that.
never get that.
They play left out. No, all right.
But what? But to me, that's really interesting. Now, is that an indictment of the top 10 highest paid guys aren't playing well, or are they just being surpassed, like you said, by the younger players who have not reached that echelon of payment yet?
Some of it is it's a broken voting system.
True. It's always been a broken
the
voting
Cubs
system.
voters are just tenacious.
Yeah, it's always been that
every year the Cubs voters just take over, and that's why, to answer your question, Paul, that's why Wilson Contreras is the starting catcher for the National League,
and he's
at
one of those
$680,000 this year, and then his counterpart catcher Gary Sanchez with the Yankees, deservedly so there, by the way. But you're going to have a little of that. There's a little bit of bias with the voting system, but you have to have the fans involved. I'm not going to say you have to change that too much. To your point with top 10, we're seeing this in every single sport. This is not new. This is not isolated to baseball. If we ran down, and we'll do it as we sort of jump back into football, we're going to run down the top paid position players in the NFL and what happened to them last year, and it's not going to be pretty, and it almost never is. And that's something that a lot of people are starting to notice, especially in the wide receiver position, in those prime positions. Is it really worth paying a guy $22 million a year on this cap right now if those teams generally aren't getting this to the finish line?
Playing like a top 3 player in the league.
Yeah.
By the way, do you remember voting for going to ball games?
And punching the things.
The hanging chads.
Yep.
Yes.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
But that was great. I always loved that, right?
Remember going to games? End of sentence?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a great point. That is a great point. By the way, I don't know if we talked about this. I was in Montreal for vacation. That's why I wasn't here last week. But anyhow, in Montreal, Expos hats everywhere. So
Great, because there's one of the best logos of all time.
Tampa Expos?
well, yeah, but nobody's really talking about it, right?
That
it's
sort
an
of
awful
died
idea.
very quickly, didn't it?
Yeah, but there was Montreal Canadiens hats and Expos hats and more Expos hats than I thought I'd see.
Right.
I'm talking about in the souvenir shops.
You saw the Nationals wore the Expos uniforms over the weekend.
Yeah, I just
I'm
think
not sure how that went over.
I almost I didn't buy an Expos lid, but I almost bought the Gary Carter jersey. It was like, nice.
Good call.
Nice.
Great call.
Almost, but I'm a Met fan,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't
Great
even.
call.
I don't have a Gary Carter Mets jersey, so why the hell would I have an Expos one? You know?
My respect factor would actually go up for you to go with Gary Carter Expos.
But being in Montreal, I kept thinking, man, boy, I can just picture Gary Carter here. He must have been king of the world.
Sure.
In Montreal.
Like Kawhi, right?
Oh, my God.
Let's end on this, because I like that you brought this up. What's a worse idea? The Tampa Bay Montreal Expos, or Tampa Bay Montreal Rays, whatever it's going to be, or sleeveless baseball jerseys. Did you see this?
I heard people talking
Did you
about it,
see
but I
this?
didn't see it. No.
Well, so you're talking about what the Reds used to wear.
Yes.
They wore them 2 days ago.
With the white T-shirts.
Yasiel Puig got up there
Yeah.
in a sleeveless shirt.
And they normally would wear a T-shirt underneath the sleeveless jersey, but they didn't.
They did
A bunch
not.
of guys
Did
didn't,
not.
right?
No, you've got to wear the T-shirt underneath.
Yeah, I don't think Puig
Yeah.
does.
No, well, if I was built
he
like
looked-
Twig,
he
I-
Well,
you
is
know.
that what this is about, showing off the guns?
Well, if you got him, but, it's
No,
not a good look.
no, it's not a good look.
For 90% of baseball, it's not a good look.
No, there's a tradition. No, you should have.
Also,
the
I've got a
sleeve.
daughter playing baseball right now, and that's not a good
Yeah.
look for her either.
All right, I just pulled up the pictures of Yasiel Puig, and that
Yeah.
looks awesome.
It does.
Awesome.
It does. But that's where the conversation ends, I think.
Right. But again, Yasiel can pull it off. I'm not sure if the middle infielders can pull it off.
I think
right?
the Bengals called him to come play linebacker.
I want to see Yasiel Puig bunt wearing the sleeveless shirt.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, but did you see Japan?
Yeah.
They had the bunting contest.
Yes.
there. I was
Yeah.
like, what? That was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's not going to come to the All-Star
No, it's not.
festivities
But
here.
it was kind of cool.
Yeah, beat the shift maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was fun. It was a little full fun, a little different.
I like it.
when it came to that. All right. Want to remind you about Morgan Stanley Global Sports and Entertainment. They, of course, give athletes, entertainers, all they need to know about the decisions for wealth and finances. Learn more. Visit morganstanley.com/GSE. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, LLC, member SIPC. Join us next week where we'll all go sleeveless on the SpotTrack.com podcast. Thanks for listening.